Do you need to wear underwear?
No. I mean, you can, you don't have to. If you like to, that's great. I'm a practical person. I don't like to get discharge on my pants because, some of them are dry clean only. I don't have to wash them more often, but you know what? It's each to their own. It's totally fine. It's not serving any specific health purpose. Again, people managed without, underwear for millennia, right? So yeah, if you want to wear it, great. If you don't want to, don't. It's all good.
Now, I remember growing up, my mom always used to say, you got to sleep without underwear on because you got to let it all air out. And that seemed to make sense to me. But now I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. Does your vagina need to breathe at night?
No, your vagina doesn't have lungs, so no.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, it's no, you don't need to air it out. The one minor exception might be if you're, wearing latex against your skin all day, something that traps moisture and causes rubbing and irritation. So in the same way, if you think about a baby in a diaper, right, that it's so occlusive because it's meant to stop any urine from getting out, right? So the idea that if you've had something occlusive on your skin for long periods of time, yes, it is good to give your skin a break from occlusion, but that's not what underwear is. I'm always like, when people say that, have they seen underwear? It's like, what underwear is like that,
Well, what about shapewear? Does shapewear, is it bad for your vagina health?
No, it's not. Your vagina's on the inside. Nothing on the outside is going to affect it. So, if your shapewear is irritating your vulva, then, it's probably a bit too tight. Just like if it's irritating in your groin or something else, just like if your shoes are too tight and they're uncomfortable, but if it's comfortable and you're fine, then wear what you like.
I saw something online where a person was going off, of course, about the fact that lace underwear can give you a yeast infection.
No. I don't know where people come up with these things. I think, though, again, follow it through to the end. Who wears lace? Loose girls, right? Black lace. So if you think about this white cotton underwear myth, where does that come from? Well, who wears black lace underwear? In the 50s, that would have been, those kind of girls, right? I mean, awful patriarchal ideas. And so, yeah, I mean, the idea that the color of your underwear is going to have some kind of health repercussion, well, then why isn't my green shirt affecting my skin, right? Why isn't your black shirt affecting your skin? How does the color of fabric only uniquely affect the vulva? Right? That doesn't make any sense at all. So no, I mean, lace is fine if it's irritating you, like if it's in the wrong, we've all put on underwear where it's just like caught in the wrong place in your groin or just like the wrong place, then put a different pair on. That's really about the fit.
So obviously a thong is fine as long as it's not irritating you.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's fine as long as it doesn't irritate. Look, if you want to wear something that's too tight, look, I personally don't because I like to be comfortable, but I'll admit I have worn uncomfortable shoes because they looked cute. So each to their own.
So you say that yeast infections and bacteriosis in the vagina are common, but that they are often misdiagnosed and misinterpreted. So as a gynecologist, what do you want us to know? Yeah.
So unfortunately, diagnosing a yeast infection or bacterial vaginosis over the phone or remotely is very difficult because the symptoms can overlap a lot. And there's lots of things that can produce identical symptoms to a yeast infection.
What are the differences between them?
So bacterial vaginosis is a change in the vaginal microbiome that has allowed emergence of what we call anaerobic bacteria. So bacteria that is, less healthy for the vagina. Normally that bacteria is kept in check by the good bacteria, but so it's been allowed to overgrow and it has changed the bacterial makeup of the vagina. And it can produce an odor. It can produce a discharge, and that can be a little bit irritating as well. Sometimes people get an itch. Everybody's different. A yeast infection is an overgrowth of yeast. The pH of the vagina remains the same, where the pH rises with bacterial vaginosis. And we don't really understand why people get recurrent yeast infections, or, we all have yeast in our vagina, we have yeast on our skin, we all have yeast everywhere in small amounts. And why for some people yeast starts to overgrow, we don't really know. There certainly are some factors that are linked to it, but so sometimes it could be that people acquire a strain that's more virulent, more aggressive. There may be local immune system issues with the vagina as well. Estrogen in the vagina can sometimes increase the risk of yeast infections. That's why we see more in pregnancy as well. So there can be lots of different reasons for that. But other things can cause itch as well. So people can develop a dermatitis of their vulva, and it can be very itchy, and they can be misdiagnosed as having a yeast infection. So it can be hard to tell over the phone. So, I always tell people, if you believe you have a yeast infection, obviously it's ideal to talk with a healthcare provider. But if you end up using an over-the-counter product and you don't get better, then you absolutely need to be seen, because the majority of yeast will be treated with an over-the-counter product. So that should work about 95% of the time. So if it hasn't worked, then you need to be seen, because then either if you do have a yeast infection, you might have a resistant strain. So you need to have that checked out. But the more likely thing is that you never had a yeast infection to begin with. So you kind of get like one remote treatment. And if that doesn't work, then you really need to escalate it.
Gotcha. And again, it's the same factors. If you're having pain while having sex, if there's a smell that's not normal or bothers you, if the discharge has changed, if you're itchy, those are all the same symptoms?
And the problem is they can overlap with many different conditions. So, you can get itch and irritation from low estrogen and menopause. You can get itch and irritation from BV, bacterial vaginosis. You can get itch and irritation from yeast. You can get itch and irritation from a dermatitis on the vulva. So, so sorting those things out, it's actually, if you're a specialist, it's not that hard if you ask the right questions and do the right tests. But it's important if you have those symptoms to see someone who can help you.
There's a lot of stuff online about boric acid being used to balance the pH of your vagina. Is that true?
No, you can't balance your pH of the vagina. If you put acid in the vagina, it's just going to return back to its pH, the pH that it was very shortly after that. Boric acid doesn't work by raising the pH of the vagina, by the way, or affecting the pH of the vagina. It works because it's basically a detergent. It's like bleach, basically. It kills everything. So, which if you have a serious yeast infection that can't respond to other medications, then that might be an option. And we also use it as part of a multi-step regimen for bacterial vaginosis, because the boric acid can destroy biofilms, which are complex sort of bacterial colonies in the vagina, or complex colonies that can allow bacteria to persist.
Is that something people buy over the counter?
Yeah. And there's been a huge explosion of this. And, I see people who come in who've been using boric acid for months or using it all the time. And the thing is, it kills your good bacteria too. So you don't want to be using it. You don't want to use it to just touch up your pH or touch things up. People do that all the time, and it's advertised. There's influencers on social media that advertise because they're paid to. And I would say that boric acid is probably the most misunderstood thing out there. And I'm not the only person who's sort of seen this explosion of people using it. I was talking at a medical conference a few years ago, and I mentioned that, and these other OBGYNs who do the same thing, I do, like, oh my gosh, I was seeing the same thing. And yeah, it's a tool that we use in very specific situations, but it's not something that you should be using chronically. And the very rare situations where we may recommend that, you should really be under the guidance of someone who understands chronic yeast infections.
Wow. I'm just kind of letting all this sink in, because you're right. The internet is this huge wild west of misinformation. And if you also put that against the backdrop of a history of chronic shaming of women for just normal body function and being marketed to for all of these products that we don't need, and in fact can damage the way that your body is naturally designed to work. Like, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, the internet is an amazing propaganda tool. It's also an amazing research tool, right? And so, like any tool, it's like a car. If you drive it correctly, you can go and see amazing places. You can visit the Grand Canyon. You can go to the Redwoods in Northern California. You can go to New York City. You can do amazing things in a car. And you can also drive on the wrong side of the road and kill someone. Right? So it's like any tool. If it's used correctly and you're taught how to use it, it can be amazing. And if it's used incorrectly and again, there are people who are wanting to use it incorrectly for malice, people wanting to use it incorrectly just to sell products, and people who just don't know any better, right? So you get all of that as well. And so if you don't know how to sort it out, it can be a problem.
Today, you and I are busting medical myths and misinformation. What are we getting wrong about our vaginas?
That's a loaded question. I wish people would just forget the word hymen. It is probably the most misunderstood body part.
So let's talk about pubic hair.
Everybody wants to talk about pubic hair. It's so fascinating.